Welcome back everyone to more strange videos. Let's dive in.
$1 million was spent for transgender animal testing?
Yes, and that's, I would say, is the floor, not the ceiling, because the information on federal databases is pretty incomplete.
So you think we're going to find out that it was much more money than that for
Yes.
transgender animal testing?
Yes.
Can you describe what exactly the American people's taxpayer dollars were spent on regarding transgender animal testing?
Yeah, in a lot of these cases, they're involve mice, rats, monkeys who are being surgically mutilated and subjected to hormone therapies to mimic female to male or male to female gender.
Did you hear what was just said? Sadly, this is not AI, this is facts. Guys, millions and millions of your tax dollar money went to transgender animal testing. Guys, I didn't even know that was a thing. That is beyond mind-blowing. So while you were out here working hard, getting up super early in the morning, working hours in overtime to put food on your table, and the government was taking taxes out of your paycheck, that tax money was going to transgender animal testing. And you know who's finding this stuff out? Elon and the Doge team. And check this out. It was just discovered that FEMA spent $59 million last week to luxury hotels in New York City to house illegal migrants. Luxury hotels. But check this out. That money, in fact, was meant for American disaster relief, and instead, it was spent on high-end hotels for illegals. You can't make this up. So houses that were burned down and different places your tax money should be going, they said, nah, we're going to spend it on what we want to spend it on. I hope y'all waking up. Because while you're paying attention to other things, stuff is really going on behind the scenes in America. And the swamp is just starting to really get drained. Glory be to God.
I don't know what's worse, seeing the money that we need to live on go to transgender animal testing, or watching our government's militia live in luxury hotels whilst they wait on a green light to destroy us from within.
An Aer Lingus flight was forced to make an emergency return to Dublin Airport yesterday after a fault caused a fire to break out. The flight was destined for Florida in the USA, but was forced to return after loud bangs were heard from the engine. The plane was safely met by Dublin Airport's Fire and Rescue Service and airport police and was escorted to a standstill at the terminal after it landed. Aer Lingus have confirmed that passengers departed for their location 3 hours later.
Does anyone know what the number of plane crashes on record is since this new year started? Because something just doesn't feel right.
Never heard of a doomsday map?
All these rich people, man, all these billionaires, they know something we don't. Something big. You ever hear of Gordon Michael Scallion?
No, who is he?
Exactly. No one talks about him. But listen, this guy, people called him a prophet. He had visions, real visions, of how the world would change. And he made a map. A doomsday map.
Doomsday like, apocalypse level?
Like, whole states gone. California, underwater, Florida, flooded, and right through the middle of the U.S., a massive, huge river splitting the country in two.
That's crazy.
Crazy? Crazy is what they want you to think. But look where the billionaires are buying land. Bill Gates owns most of the farmland in America now. And guess where? High ground. Safe zones.
And yeah, a lot of them are moving to Texas too.
Talking about Texas, look at the map. Texas is untouched, dry. It's all planned. They're getting ready. I'm telling you, they know. They're not guessing, not gambling. They have the blueprint for what's coming. And we're just, what? Sitting around sending memes waiting to drown? It's actually terrifying.
This is just a theory, not a fact.
What theories do you have on what might happen? You know, it could be something to do with 2030. I don't know. It could be to do with, revelations, or it could even be just something completely manufactured.
In Georgia, around 100 women were kept as slaves on a farm where they were forced to give their eggs. They were given strong medicines to make their bodies produce more eggs, just like farm animals. 3 Thai women, who were trapped there for 6 months, finally escaped on January 30th and shared their terrifying experience. They said a group of criminals from China ran the farm, selling the eggs on the black market. These women had been tricked by a fake job offer on Facebook. It promised them a good salary, between 11,500 and 17,000 euros. $9,600 to $14,100, to work as surrogates for couples who couldn't have children. In August 2024, they traveled to Georgia with 10 other Thai women. The criminals paid for their trip and passports. A woman from the group arranged their journey, making it seem real. But when they arrived, they saw the truth. They were locked in big houses with nearly 100 other women. Instead of working as surrogates, they were given strong hormones every month to make them produce eggs. Their eggs were taken from them and sold. Some of the women never got any money at all. If they asked to leave, the criminals told them they had to pay €2,000, 1,670 first. But most of them had no money. One woman managed to escape. She told Pavena Hongsakala, a Thai woman who helps victims of crime, about the horrible situation. She said many Thai women were still trapped because they couldn't pay for their freedom. The eggs were taken to other countries and used for in vitro fertilization, IVF, according to Pavena. Her foundation worked with Interpol and rescued 3 Thai women by paying the ransom. It is unknown how many women are still trapped. Thai police and Interpol are now investigating, and more rescues might happen soon. Follow for more videos and comment what you think about this video. Thanks for watching.
The fact that we are now farming women in 2025 for their eggs and holding them hostage is just a new level of messed up.
No one knew that Patrick Mahomes' strange Super Bowl performance was actually sabotaged by a voodoo doll. In this Super Bowl, Mahomes' performance left fans scratching their heads, completely unlike the super quarterback we know. He threw an interception, the defense allowed a touchdown, top receivers missed key passes, and the offensive line was easily penetrated. However, after the game, a video surfaced that might explain what happened. In the video, an Eagles fan is seen intently watching the field, continuously stabbing a voodoo doll with silver needles. The doll's appearance and attire shockingly resembled Mahomes, the Chiefs' quarterback. This eerie scene even left surrounding Eagles fans feeling uneasy and spooked. What's even more uncanny is that this happened in New Orleans, one of the birthplaces of voodoo. This helps explain why Mahomes appeared so disoriented and exhausted, as though some mysterious force was affecting him. Meanwhile, the Eagles played with extraordinary strength and ultimately won the Super Bowl championship. Barkley earned his first ever Super Bowl ring, and Hurts set a new record for quarterback rushing yards in the Super Bowl. It's clear that this game wasn't just a sporting competition. There seemed to be some supernatural elements at play.
I believe voodoo works for sure, but the lengths that some people will go to just to see their team win is just crazy.
This is a classic example of the agenda being put in our faces all along through entertainment. Although symbols can have more than one meaning, these particular symbols together only have one. Let's start with the all-seeing eye. Although some believe this is used to represent the Creator, most of us know this is used to represent the deceptive false god, the liar. These are the symbols used to represent man and woman. However, linked together, it's androgynous or transgender. This one is the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail, infinity, eternity, and then equals win. So it's a win for the deceptive false god of this world to enslave man or woman for eternity by altering themselves from their original creation. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Because the Baphomet is depicted as an androgynous figure, goat-headed winged hermaphrodite with a human body, transgender and transhuman. And this movie came out 33 years ago. Fast forward to today, it's fair to say we've already accepted transgender because it's being taught in school, and transhuman is right around the corner.
I've no intentions of becoming transhumanistic, and I'm sure you're the same as well. But it's funny though how when you wake up and start to rewatch certain movies in the past, you start to notice all these little sort of details that you never really gave much thought about before.
Is that?
So we moved house when I was about 5, and that night we decided to sit down and watch The Poltergeist, and sometime in our living room door handle went crazy just like it did in that last clip.
That is true of spinning objects in space. So a deck of cards makes some very interesting games and demonstrations that you can do in space. Some of you may be familiar with the old experiment about the hammer and the feather. Well, in this case, our feather will be played here by this 4 of spades. And you may expect everything up here in microgravity to float, because most everything does float.
No.
Does NASA even try anymore these days?
Morning, people. Here's another absolute cracker to add to the list of absolutely insane stories of things that are going on in this country. So apparently at a deportation hearing for an Albanian criminal that had some quite serious convictions, and the Home Office were trying to deport him, one of the reasons, listed a whole load of reasons why he shouldn't be deported, many of which revolved around right to a family life, his children being in this country, being at school in this country, etc., etc. But one of the reasons they listed, genuinely listed in court, and this was given weight to and serious consideration as part of the case, was that one of his children is a very picky eater and really only lives on chicken nuggets, and they were concerned that if they deported this man and his family had to go with him, that the child wouldn't eat properly back in his own home country of Albania. Now, you may laugh, but his deportation was turned down. How is that even a thing? And that brings you on to the wider question of this whole issue around the ECHR and the European Court of Human Rights. And the argument you get is that on one side, they say we must leave the European Court of Human Rights because basically the rules around that and the judgments around that don't allow us to make decisions that are in the best interests of the British people. The other side of the argument is, well, if you leave the European Court of Human Rights, you'll take away all of everyone's human rights and people will be left open to complete abuse by the state. But the sensible position, which most people advocate, is that there is a middle ground, which is that we opt out of the ECHR, but then we pretty much immediately bring in our own British Bill of Rights, which states all the rights that we already previously had, which completely protects human rights, but allows our judges and our system to make decisions based on the best interests of British people, as opposed to European courts doing it. Surely that's the sensible position, and that's the position I've seen advocated by pretty much everyone who says we should get out of the ECHR. You can't have a situation where you've got serious criminals remaining in this country and using excuses like their kids won't eat properly if they get deported. It's just farcical. It's ridiculous. And I'm not making this up. It was in multiple media sources yesterday. It's all over social media. This was one. I'm not saying this was the main deciding factor. Clearly, when newspapers put these articles out, they go for fantastical headlines. They're trying to attract readers. They're trying to create furore and uproar. So I totally understand that this is a bit of a silly headline. But it was genuinely put forward in court as one of the reasons why this guy couldn't be deported, because his son wouldn't be able to get chicken nuggets back in Albania. It's absolutely insanity. It's completely bonkers. Anyway, let me know. Are you in favour of staying within the ECHR? Are you in favour of leaving the ECHR? And if we leave, would you suggest that we immediately replace that with a very similar but slightly differently worded and constructed British Bill of Rights that does protect everyone's human rights and does protect all of the rights, or the vast majority of rights, that everyone's already got anyway? Surely that's a sensible way to go.
I see you have a long list of first-degree murder, multiple essays, multiple attempts for arson, and a blueprint to carry out a terrorist attack. Please don't deport me. My child can only eat chicken nuggets in this country. Please. Ah, bless. You know what? Case dismissed. Here, there's 20 quid. Go buy your son some nice chicken nuggets. I insist.
You know what's scary? Is that the whole rumor about tunnels under LA might not be a rumor. Jeffree Star, well known, went on Tana Mongeau's podcast and basically spills all. In the past, he's also talked about, satanic stuff that's happened in Hollywood. I'm going to play the full clip for you and just listen to what he says.
Yeah. And Hollywood can just get so dark, and you probably saw so much of the darkness of it, and I'm just good for you for getting the fuck out. You know what I want to ask you about? Actually, I think Jeffree would be a really good person to ask about this. We've been talking about it a bunch lately. Tunnels under Hollywood.
Okay.
Do you believe in them? Do you think they exist? Have you been to them?
They are real.
Really?
I knew I would
Now I'm just pissed I'm not invited. Nobody's even
more.
thought to tell me about it.
Keep going.
Well, there's so many different tunnels because the old days, I mean, really, we built our city on top of a city that kind of already existed. So there's just a lot under there.
And do you think celebrities really use them? Do you think people really use them?
Yes.
And you think it's the 1%? Like, you think it's just like
It's definitely the 1%. And the problem is I've been invited to these scenarios, and I've felt like the sickest, most lead, cancerous feeling ever, and I've never gone down those routes.
So same with like Illuminati stuff. I'm sure you're going to say the same thing. It's real. You've seen it, but you didn't want to take a part in it. Because there was a while where people really thought you were Illuminati. Honestly, I was people.
I'm still not sure.
We may still hang out sometimes.
Damn, that's so crazy.
I'm just not going to be a Hollywood puppet and entertain anything dark or illegal. They tried to blackmail and coerce me over and over and over to do horrible things, and I'm just not a horrible person.
So you obviously believe all of this Diddy stuff is real and darker than it's even shown.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad people are finally seeing it. I think when they saw him viciously assault Cassie, it all made sense because all we do is know his music and he's great. And then I think when you actually see someone as a monster, it's like, holy fuck.
It's no secret that many of these tunnels are used for nefarious purposes, but not all tunnels are like this. I mean, only something like, 99.7%.
This photo is not at all what it seems. You might recognize this face, billionaire Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI and ChatGPT, and this is his sister, Annie. They look super happy here, but something horrible was going on in the background. Because back in January, Annie drops a bombshell lawsuit against Sam, alleging some of the most heinous crimes you could possibly imagine. This is how the news is reporting it, but if you read the descriptions in the actual lawsuit, it's sickening. Like, I don't know how to talk about this without the video getting taken down, so maybe just pause to read. But the news is very much just kind of dismissing her claims. This is what the New York Times wrote, quote, Miss Altman had mental health challenges and refuses conventional treatment and lashes out at family members who are genuinely trying to help. I mean, I don't know about you, but I would definitely have a few mental health issues if that same thing happened to me. But here's where the story gets even darker. In May of 2018, Annie and Sam's father passes away tragically of a heart attack. And Annie was very close with her father. But then, the entire family, after her father passed away, hid the will from her, and she had no idea this was happening until her father's 401k company notified that she was his primary beneficiary. Then, when she was trying to file the paperwork, Annie discovered that her mother, Connie, was still legally married to her father, Jerry, even though they had been separated, and she apparently used the surviving spouse option to override his will, which blocked Annie from getting any of the money. This is some messed up stuff. Annie then suffers from a series of health issues and is unable to work and basically runs out of money. And when she asks her family for help, they either tell her outright no, as you can see here in this text exchange, or they tell her that in order for them to help her, she's got to go on meds or whatever other condition they stipulate, which she doesn't want to do. But then she's forced into doing SW in order to make ends meet. She would later go on to say, quote, I survived sickness because of survival SW. Escorting, I'm not at all glad that it happened, but I am grateful. Now back to her allegations against her brother Sam, November 13th, 2021 is the first time that she posts about it publicly. November 30th, 2022, OpenAI launches ChatGPT to instant success. Sam Altman then becomes a household name, the Oppenheimer of our age, as he's called in New York Magazine. Meanwhile, Annie is a ghost. For the longest time, ChatGPT did not even recognize her existence because we have to remember ChatGPT is basically a scraper of the internet, so if he never talks about her, she doesn't exist. September 24th, 2023, Sam sends this email to Annie, apologizing and asking for forgiveness for something. Pause to read. On January 7th, Sam, along with all of his siblings and his mother, respond publicly to her essay allegations, saying, quote, all of these claims are untrue. The situation causes immense pain to our entire family. Look, I don't know what's true and what isn't true. Nobody really does, other than Sam and Annie. But what I will say is that it's easy to dismiss these allegations because it's the most convenient thing to do. Like it or not, Sam is one of the most powerful people in the world. Annie is the quote-unquote crazy sister, so who do you think the media is going to believe? But maybe more importantly, who do you believe?
Many of us have mental health challenges, but we don't go out essaying. However, is she telling the truth, or is she just trying her luck to see if there's like a money glitch that will work from a game she's trying to possibly play?
Why in the world is Wendy Williams locked up in this little room and only sees the sun twice a month? I'm about to answer your question, showing you what happens when you speak a little bit too much about certain people. But first, take it from the horse's mouth. Poor lady.
Where I am is this place where the people are older, you know what I'm saying? They are in their 90s, in their 80s. I eat lunch and dinner in my bedroom.
Now, this case right here is extremely odd. Why would they put her in a building with people with cognitive problems? Well, apparently she was diagnosed with dementia. Why don't you come take a walk with me? We're not going very far. We had two really weird things happen with Wendy back to back. This is the first one. I'm about to show you what happened right after she said this. The next day.
Guess who's jealous of Adele? Beyonce.
And the very next day, this happened to her live.
Costume contest, we do it every year. It's always a lot of fun. Let's get started. Our first caress.
The very next day, but of course it's just a coincidence. Y'all look too far into these things. And don't y'all forget, Beyonce is the queen bee. She's the one they all look up to. In an extremely off-putting and odd way. Now don't forget, Wendy Williams is also the person that started the pregnancy thing right there, the word. I can't say that word, but maybe if I was on a payroll. And so Wendy Williams was the reason that everyone started inspecting this pregnancy bump that she had. All different cameras, all different people, it was a whole big thing. Then she went completely normal, happy, and healthy. And unfortunately enough, was diagnosed with dementia and shoved in this building where she could not ever see the sun besides this window or whenever they decide to let her out. And oddly enough, she's not the only celebrity to go through these very odd sickness, illness, rehabilitations. There's one person right now making headline news where apparently his manager said, you better be careful. But I don't think that Wendy Williams will be the last because she's been making those same kind of faces, if you get what I'm saying. But of course, this video is an absolute joke. It's for entertainment. She's there because she has dementia. It's to keep her safe, and obviously she has windows where she can see and interact with the sun. And the 90 to 100-year-olds who are just like her, apparently. Don't take it seriously, I'm being stupid.
What's your thoughts on this one? I mean, one thing I do know is that Wendy Williams is not alone. With being locked up in a room and only going out twice a month. I mean, have you seen My Generation?
The world's weirdest museums you won't believe exist.
This might be the strangest one yet. It's a cave filled with hair samples from over 16,000 women. The museum started with a single lock of hair from a lost love, and now people travel from all over the world to add theirs. Ever wondered what happens to inventions that totally flop? This museum showcases the worst product ideas ever, like a toaster with knives sticking out of it, and a bicycle with square wheels. If you hate creepy crawlies, stay far away from this one. It's the only museum in the world dedicated to parasites, featuring a 9-meter-long tapeworm pulled from a human. This place is filled with thousands of haunted and cursed dolls. Some dolls reportedly move on their own, and visitors claim they've heard whispers in the dark. Accidentally burned. It started as a joke, but now it has charred popcorn, burnt toast art, and even a completely blackened Thanksgiving turkey.
Find it in the Vatican, you find it in ancient Egypt, you find it here in the States, you find it all over cemeteries, you find it all over the Masonic lodges. And they believe by setting up this ritual, now it's all a recreation of the original ritual that took place between Isis and the 13 pieces of Osiris. The Washington Monument and the Dome of Isis, which is the Capitol building. Now this is fascinating because the original ritual had to take place between what we would, in a courtyard, between a dome and an obelisk. Putting those two together like that creates a power generator. Literally a generator for this ritual. But think about this. In ancient Egypt, what had happened was the pharaoh would go through this ritual, he would enter in a man, and he would exit the ritual a god. That was their belief. And they believed that their pharaoh was literally the embodiment of Osiris because of that ritual. They were calling him up out of the underworld. Same ritual basically that the Freemasons believe that they have maintained the proper language and the ritual to a T from the ancient world. They claim to have this still today. They're right there between the dome and the obelisk, right there in that power generator, and right around the corner at the Herodome, which is what they call the Masonic Mecca of the world, literally. The Herodome is this temple, this massive, crazy temple in DC. They are literally calling on the spirit of Osiris to raise up, or Apollo, however you want to slice it, but they're not all conscious of the ritual. They believed in the foundation of this nation that Washington was a type. He was the first Osiris. Technically, every president in their eyes is an Osiris, but the crazy thing is that not every time the ritual is going to stick. They have to keep doing it until it actually sticks and they get that one that they've been waiting for. You know, how many years, was Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard working in the desert trying to get this ritual to stick? They do this at the inauguration of every U.S. president because they believe there is going to come a time in a president that will be the one. In the Capitol building, beneath the 72 pentagrams and the apotheosis of George Washington. And that's not it. There's so much more numerology about the Capitol building and the 13 statues and the statutory hall. But I believe that's the real ritual. That's the one where he's going to raise, where the spirit of Osiris, which the Bible talks about this Apollyon coming up from the bottomless pit. Now his body's cut up into 14 pieces. It gets thrown into the Nile River. And Isis, of course, isn't happy about this. Isis tries to collect all the pieces up, and she's only able to find 13 pieces. So she fashions together those 13 pieces to form a more perfect union, which is the framework of our 13 colonies, a more perfect union, based off of the myth of Osiris. Now that's showing Egyptian magic even in the framework and the fabric of our foundation, right? It's not an accident that they brought together 13 colonies to form a more perfect union. That was all by design. It was all manufactured.
I'd be more curious about the Parasite Museum. You know, I'd love to know what kind of parasites cause what conditions and what they actually look like. You know, probably a little bit weird, like.
One whole egg, milk. Hold the jug with one hand. The secret is to get that really nice, smooth paste. But whisking that egg first, and then you're milking. Don't put all the milk in, because then you're going to get a lumpy pancake mix. And the secret for me is to have a nice thin teaspoon. That helps to bring a nice crispy edge to the mixture. Now, just a taste. Look at that. I love that. The larger the pan, the better. It helps to create a nice, thin, even surface. I want that. That's what I'm looking for. In there. Nice. Tosser. Now, the exciting part, a little shake. That releases it. And then just shake it to the end. Beautifully. Now, that's exactly what I want. That nice sort of colour is so important. And that, for me, is pancakes.
That's all I have for you today, everyone. And if you enjoyed the compilation, smash that like button and subscribe button, as it really does help push the video out. But until the next video, please stay safe and stay healthy, and I'll see you then.